This is Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany. Inspiring and providing real insight to our listeners with every story. Exploring deep stories behind every guest. Please welcome your host, Bo Tiffany.
Welcome back to another episode of Digital Voices. In this episode, we're going to look a little bit more in depth at Epstein's murder. And I say Epstein's murder because even Ghislaine Maxwell said she believed he was murdered and that he didn't commit suicide. Taking a look at the powerful individuals that Epstein had for associates and friends, it wouldn't be hard to imagine some nefarious activities taking place. But what I'm going to do is to give you the facts and let you draw your own conclusions. On August 10th, 2019, American financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official cause of death was ruled a suicide by hanging. A lot of us have questions regarding the circumstances surrounding his death. The fact that Epstein had been associated with numerous high-profile individuals, including former President Bill Clinton and former President Donald Trump, has only added to the speculation that foul play may have been involved in Epstein's demise. Let's take a look at the Clinton connection first. So Jeffrey Epstein was known to have had a close relationship with former President Bill Clinton. According to the flight logs, Jeffrey Epstein was known to have had a close relationship with former President Bill Clinton. According to flight logs, Clinton flew on Epstein's private plane, nicknamed the Lolita Express, at least 26 times during 2001 and 2003. Epstein was also a donor to the Clinton Foundation and reportedly gave the organization $25,000 in 2006. Given their close association, it's not surprising that a lot of us speculate that Clinton may have had a hand in Epstein's death. The most common theory is that Clinton was involved in a cover-up to prevent Epstein from revealing incriminating information about their relationship. This information could have been related to Clinton's own alleged sexual misconduct, or could have implicated others close to the former president. Another theory is that Clinton may have been motivated to have Epstein killed in order to protect his wife's political aspirations. It is well known that Bill Clinton's wife, Hillary, was planning to run for president in 2020, and many believe that Epstein's scandal could have seriously damaged her campaign. By having Epstein killed, Clinton could have been attempting to prevent any damaging information from coming to light. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, these theories have gained traction in certain circles. In particular, those who believe that the Clintons are part of a powerful elite with far-stretching influence that have been quick to point the finger at the former president. And if you take a look at the track record of Bill, it's easy to see him doing something like this. Going forward, let's take a look at the Trump connection. So while Bill Clinton's association with Jeffrey Epstein is well documented, Donald Trump's relationship with the financier is less clear. He was better at covering his tracks, in my opinion. However, there are some indications that the two were acquaintances, and there are certainly rumors that suggest Trump may have had a role in Epstein's death. One of the most commonly cited pieces of evidence is a video of Trump and Epstein attending a party together in 1992. While the video does not necessarily prove that the two were close, it does suggest that they were at least on friendly terms. Additionally, there have been rumors that Trump and Epstein may have been involved in a business deal at some point in the past. Some have speculated that Trump may have been involved in Epstein's death in order to prevent damaging information from coming to light. Given the numerous allegations of sexual misconduct that have been leveled against Trump, it's not difficult to imagine that he would have been motivated to protect his reputation at all costs. By having Epstein killed, he could have been attempting to prevent any evidence of his own misdeeds from coming to light. Another theory is that Trump may have been trying to protect other individuals who are close to him. There have been rumors that members of Trump's inner circle, including former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and former White House strategist Steve Bannon, had connections to Epstein. By having Epstein killed, Trump may have been attempting to protect these individuals and prevent any potentially damaging information from being revealed. It is worth noting that there is no concrete information to support these theories, and Trump has denied any involvement in Epstein's death. However, given the number of controversies that have surrounded both of these presidents, it's not surprising that some would be quick to suspect foul play when it comes to Epstein's death. So let's take a look at the idea of Epstein being murdered. Assuming for a moment that either Clinton or Trump were involved in Epstein's death, what might the actual murder scenario look like? While we may never know for sure, there's a number of possibilities that have been suggested. One possibility is that Epstein was killed by a hitman hired by either Clinton or Trump. This would likely have been a professional with experience in carrying out assassinations, and they may have used a variety of methods to kill Epstein, including strangulation. The hitman may have gained access to Epstein's cell by bribing a guard or by exploiting security vulnerabilities within the facility. Remember, both of the security guards were sleeping. More than likely, in my opinion, they were probably drugged. Another possibility is that Epstein was killed by someone within the prison system. This could have been a guard who was paid off by one of the conspirators, or it could have been a fellow inmate who was promised a reduced sentence or other benefits in exchange for carrying out the hit. In this scenario, the murder may have been carried out using a makeshift weapon, such as a sheet or a towel used for strangulation. It's also possible that Epstein's death was staged to look like a suicide, which in my opinion, I think it was, but was in fact a carefully orchestrated murder. This would have required a great deal of planning and coordination and would have involved a number of individuals working together to carry out the crime. In this scenario, the conspirators may have used a variety of techniques to make it look like Epstein had hung himself, including manipulating the security cameras and falsifying the autopsy report. Assuming that either Clinton or Trump were involved in Epstein's murder, what might be the consequences if the truth were to come out? While it is impossible to predict with certainty, there are a number of potential outcomes that could arise. If it were determined that Clinton was involved in Epstein's murder, it would likely have a devastating impact on his legacy. While the former president was already facing numerous scandals and controversies over the years, his association with a convicted sex offender and his involvement in a cover-up would be particularly damaging. It can also have serious implications for his wife's political career, and it could potentially lead to criminal charges being brought against him. I don't think that'll ever happen. Just like if Trump were to be found to have played a role in Epstein's death, the consequences could be even more severe. The president is already facing numerous investigations and impeachment proceedings, and his involvement in a conspiracy to commit murder would almost certainly lead to his removal from office if he were to get elected again. It could also lead to criminal charges being brought against Trump and others involved in the conspiracy. In my opinion, I think Trump and Clinton are friends, just like peas in a pod with Jeffrey Epstein. I think that they have certain sexual appetites and hungers that, as powerful men, they felt obliged to help themselves to, even if it was against social taboos and norms, even if it was against the law. Seems like people in power don't care about the law. All they care about is their desires, their wants, their needs. You can look through history to see this same pattern repeat itself over and over and over. We just don't have titles like kings and queens and princes and princesses. We have presidents and congressmen and senators. Same thing as a nobleman. Same thing as an elder. Same thing as a lot of these roles that have been filled by various names throughout history. There's no concrete evidence to support any theories that I put forward today. However, knowing how good these people are at covering their tracks, you have to start reading between the lines. The video camera system being down, both the guards being knocked out or sleeping, being quick to say it was a suicide, even though we had a coroner that came on and investigated independently who disagreed with the suicide ruling. And then they went after Ghislaine Maxwell because that's all they had left. So, you have to play this game, if you will, of politics. It's your wants, your needs versus the will of the people. So in this particular case, they still needed someone to publicly atone for the Epstein scandal. I don't find it against the realm of possibility that Epstein was murdered. In fact, I believe he was murdered. Ghislaine Maxwell believes he was murdered. And she probably knows better than anyone out there who's responsible for that. She didn't try to testify for herself. She didn't take the stand to defend herself. She denies all of the allegations, of course, just like any politician would. So while on the stage, you might not think that Donald Trump and the Clintons like each other. However, Bill and Trump have had a long-standing friendship that dates back more than 2 decades. We'll talk about this relationship, the factors that brought them together, and the impact that that friendship has had on American politics and society. The relationship between Bill Clinton and Donald Trump can be traced back to the early 1990s, when both men were in the height of their respective careers. At the time, Clinton was the governor of Arkansas and a rising star in the Democratic Party, while Trump was a wealthy businessman and real estate magnate with a reputation for ostentatious displays of wealth and power. According to various reports, the two men first met in 1993 at a charitable event hosted by the United Way in New York City. They reportedly hit it off right away, bonding over their shared love of politics and business, they said. I think it's probably more sexual appetites were similar. Over the next few years, they would come to cross paths at various social events and political functions, building a relationship that would endure for decades to come. During Bill Clinton's presidency, him and Donald Trump maintained a cordial and friendly relationship. According to reports, Trump was a frequent guest at the White House during the Clinton years, and the two men often spoke on the phone and exchanged letters. I'd like to see what those were about. Despite their friendship, however, Clinton and Trump did not always see eye to eye on political matters. In 1998, for example, Clinton became embroiled in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, which threatened to derail his presidency. During this time, Trump was publicly critical of Clinton, calling him a disgusting human being and suggesting that he should resign from office. Despite these differences, however, Clinton and Trump continued to maintain a friendly relationship throughout the remainder of Clinton's presidency. In fact, according to some reports, Clinton even encouraged Trump to run for president in the future, telling him that he had the vision and the drive to succeed in politics. When Trump was elected president in 2016, many people were surprised to learn that he and Bill were still friends. Despite their political differences and the fact that Clinton's wife Hillary had been Trump's opponent in the election, the two men reportedly maintained a friendly relationship. According to reports, Trump and Clinton spoke on the phone several times after the election, with Trump reportedly seeking Clinton's advice on various matters. In one phone call, Trump reportedly thanked Clinton for coming to his inauguration, telling him that he really appreciated his presence. However, as Trump's presidency progressed, their relationship became more strained. In 2017, Trump accused Clinton of having ties to Russia, tweeting that Bill Clinton had a great deal to do with the Russian uranium deal. The accusation was widely seen as an attempt to deflect attention from the ongoing investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Moreover, recently, their relationship has been even more fraught. In the lead up to the 2020 presidential election, Trump attacked Clinton on numerous occasions, accusing him of being responsible for the Jeffrey Epstein scandal and suggesting that he had ties to the pedophile ring. The friendship between Bill Clinton and Donald Trump has had a significant impact on American politics and society. On the one hand, it has served as an example of the potential for political adversaries to find common ground and build relationship across party lines. Both men have acknowledged that their friendship has helped them to see beyond their differences. Think about that for a minute. Was it their friendship that helped them see beyond their differences? Or was it the sexual hunger and appetites that these two men have? Everyone knows the history of Bill Clinton in the White House, if you're old enough to remember that. Everybody knows the history of Donald Trump. Does this idea of sex trafficking only happen to minors? In my personal opinion, I think that Epstein facilitated whatever your appetite and particular taste was. I don't think there's a cookie cutter for anyone, man out there, on what the perfect woman is. There's a lot of different sexual orientations and appetites. But given the track record of these two individuals, I find it plausible that they probably worked together, especially knowing that Epstein was part of Mar-a-Lago, his country club. I believe that these men worked together to basically create a RICO situation. That's the racketeering and corruption. Sorry, that's the Racketeering and Corrupt Organizations Act, which, by the way, due to the sprawling scale of Epstein's scandal, anyone else find it interesting that no one has pushed for a RICO lawsuit? Why? Because that would open up doors that would expose other individuals that were part of this ring. JP Morgan and Chase, great example. Denise George, the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, being fired after a $105 million settlement from Epstein's estate to the Virgin Islands without cause, 4 days after she announced that she was going after JP Morgan and Chase. We've already looked at how the justice system is delayed in the Virgin Islands, stretching back decades. We've explored how they're able to get away with this. It's truly my belief that these men work together. When you take a look at that $105 million for the Virgin Islands from Epstein's estate, it's disgusting in my opinion. The same corrupt cesspool that allowed Epstein to facilitate these activities on his island are the same ones that collected a large part of his estate, and they get the island back. That money should have went to the victims. Think that $105 million is going to go for another judge or to hire another investigator for the Office of Disciplinary Counsel? No. Think about it. My hope is by the time you're done with this series, if you've actually stuck through it, you'll have a really good understanding of what's going on in the Virgin Islands, the injustices that allowed Epstein to operate for so long and set up shop in the first place, the same one that kept the secret for so long due to cultural and political wills. Awareness, knowledge, those are powerful tools. At the end of the day, though, it takes political will. It takes political pressure. It takes the voice of the people to stand up. Just like the slaves in the Virgin Islands, the 3 women that stood up and led the revolt that led to the emancipation of the slaves. That same spirit needs to happen now. We're dealing with an era of modern pirates at the cost of many innocent victims that are left in the dark, struggling to even understand what the hell's going on to them. This needs to change.
This has been Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany, exploring deep stories from real-life guests with real-life experiences, providing insight to our listeners with every story. Stay up to date on future podcasts by bookmarking digitalvoiceswithbotiffany.podbean.com and follow Bo on social media by searching Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany. Have an idea for a future story? Send your idea to acrmadison@gmail.com. Until next time, grab life by the horns and keep inspiring others.